Hi everyone, this is Starpath Academy live. My name is Arpad, and today I also wanted to share some good news and answer some questions. So, one of the good news is if you remember a month ago, I posted a video about the Jason Hartman birthday contest, and I actually was one of the winners of that birthday contest. And I'm really glad that you guys enjoyed the video and liked the video, and that probably helped me be one of the winners in that contest. So thank you very much, and thank you to Jason Hartman to organizing that birthday giveaway. And I was really happy to see his video and him enjoying my short video and my take on what he's teaching. So I really enjoy his videos. I think they are full with good knowledge and practical knowledge as well. So if you don't know who Jason Hartman is, then I'll have a link to his YouTube channel, and you can learn about real estate investing there. And I think he has really good points about depreciation and inflation eating away debt. However, I don't, as always with no one, I don't completely agree, 100%. But the what he does is really important, and you can learn from it a lot. And as much as I can, I always try to catch his videos. So thank you very much for you guys to have liked the video. Right. Today, actually, we did some. We made some sausage, so I thought I named this video or live how to make a sausage. But I'm not necessarily gonna take. I'm not necessarily gonna be talking about how to make sausage, but I will talk about a little bit about the importance of knowing how to prepare and how to store food for a long time without refrigeration. So one of the reasons why we made why we made a lot of sausage back in Romania, when we eventually toward the end of the year had meat, right? Because we didn't always have meat, but when we did, and we butchered the pig, we took all that pork meat and we needed to consume everything, absolutely everything. We couldn't waste anything. So one of the reasons why we made sausage, because if you make good sausage links, you can smoke them. And if you're smoking them, you will be able to store it for a longer time than just meat and freezing it. And we couldn't rely on electricity, so making sure that they were smoked right, they were cured right, and all of that was very important. Now, actually, I don't have a smoker right now, but I'm planning to build one. So once I have that, then hopefully I can share some more knowledge on how to build one and how to smoke. But I also looked at some other YouTube videos, how other people do it, and picked up some bits of knowledge there. So if you guys are interested, then I can try to invite someone from, I think, Michigan, who is really good at smoking meat, and hopefully we can have a nice talk about food and meats and that sort of stuff. Of course, we'll maybe have a separate video for vegetarians, to maybe what type of foods they can store, how they can store it, and that sort of stuff. So let me know in the comment section if you would be interested in that. But also, I will probably also share a couple of photos or something like that, what we have done today. But it was just making sausage. So I hope the audio is right, and now I can see a couple of people have joined. Thank you for already liking the video. So, all right. I did want to thank all of you who have recently subscribed to the channel. After going on an interview with Lynette Zhang and Mario just yesterday or even today. A lot of new people have arrived, so let's give them a warm welcome. Thank you very much for joining. If you at any time have questions, please post them in the comment section. I can't always get to all of them, but as much as I can, I will. So, if I didn't get your question the first time, just keep on asking them in the second, third, fourth video, and hopefully I will catch them. Or the best part is, if you can come onto a live show, they are usually nighttime and towards the end of the week, or possibly even Saturday, Sunday, then I will be able to answer your questions then if you have any. But also, if you're a subscriber on Patreon or on buymeacoffee.com/StarPath Academy, then you can ask questions or even suggest topics. So please feel free to do so. So I actually caught some questions here and there. So I'm gonna take a look at some comments on previous videos and see if I can answer some of those. So one question, actually, this was underneath Mario's Maneko 64 video that was posted today. And a gentleman felt frustrated about how I don't ever answer his question. Well, I'm really sorry. I don't always catch the questions. But he was asking, I'm having a hard time pulling up the question in the comments, but he was actually asking about crime and the crime situation during hyperinflations and our situation in Romania. So I thought maybe we'll talk a little bit about that without getting in too much into the detail. This is a family-friendly show, or we try to keep it that way anyway. Okay, so yeah, I can't really find the question now, but we'll yeah, so regarding crime, of course, crime spiked a lot. That makes sense. A lot of people didn't have food or didn't have the ability to grow food, especially in big cities. So it immediately spiked. But to be honest, already as a communist country, the people were very poor, or at least in the cities or where we lived anyway. So there wasn't much stuff to steal, and nothing was that important that you would take someone's life, or you would feel threatened that somebody would take your life for whatever you might have. It was always what could you have, a couple of Romanian lei on you, or sacks of potatoes or something like that. You're coming home from a barter or coming home from a market or something like that. It wasn't that big, that they could steal. Of course, crime did happen, and I think the guy asked me why I'm not answering his question. Have I been mugged or something? Well, of course I have been mugged. I have been mugged countless times in Romania. At some point you just didn't even bother bringing your wallet with you. We would put money in our socks or something, but that only lasted for a couple of months. After that, you would have to strip naked or close to naked to make sure that the gang, there were usually a couple of people that would stop you, and they would make sure that you're not hiding money somewhere. So that has happened as well. But that wouldn't make me not answer questions, maybe not go into the exact details, but so yes, of course it happened. Crime always happened, and even in especially in big cities or medium to big size cities, it used to happen quite a lot. It was daily occurrence. Sometimes if you could fight back, sometimes it didn't make any sense to fight back, because really what they could take wasn't that much anyway, and nobody risked. At least that was my perspective. Of course, that could be wrong in other people's perspective, but it wasn't that bad. Now, of course, in a couple of times we fended for ourselves very, very vigorously, which caused later other problems, because in medium-sized cities, Sometimes you would know personally the person who's mugging you, or you would know which part of the city they are living, who their acquaintance is. So it was a weird situation, and there really wasn't like you could report them to the cops and it would be taken care of. And that way, it wasn't like a full-blown mafia situation, but people would offer protections for small businesses or something like that. So people did defend their businesses, but as a young person, I didn't really have too much to lose, and I didn't care too much about it. The more sinister part was when I guess people would, people, the muggers or people who committed crimes would find someone and they would track someone down where they live and then try to do something against their home or something like that. If they would see you in a nicer attire, or God forbid you had some jewelry or something like that on yourself, then it could be the different situation. And we heard rumors about things like that happening, and those were always much much more horrible, because they could take their time or something like that. But to be honest, it wasn't easy to get into apartments, because these were concrete buildings, and the doors got reinforced very fast, and the hinges and everything. People started working on those immediately as they kind of realized how bad the situation was getting. So it wasn't easy to get into apartments, what we've heard. And even our home apartment door was reinforced with hardwood pieces. It was kind of well, it was almost trendy because everybody did it. But yeah, so for both from the front and the back, you would put an extra layer of hardwood, and you would reinforce it with metal around the hinges and the locks and that sort of stuff. And everything was in concrete, so you couldn't kick it in or something like that. But what has happened, that probably a lot of Romanians will know, was that people, got some attires or some clothes that they would look like officials, or they would even have fake badges or something like that. And it could be sometimes they would be these fake terminators against like bugs or something like that, or rats, which was prevalent during hyperinflation in Romania. And they would show up and they would say like the home association sent them out, right? And you would not let them in. You would not let anyone in. And we had these peepholes. We didn't care. And then, yeah. But however, some people got fooled by them, and it was really horrible for them, because usually it was just one pencil neck person, or maybe a female. But then there would be more waiting outside, and as soon as you crack the door open, they would come in, and bad things would happen. But there was still rarely the case of murder or that sort of stuff. But then they would like steal the furniture, steal everything, basically, as much as they could, I guess. And I also heard some horrible stories with a person, a grandmother of someone, which I don't want to go into details, but you have to know that people get creative, and you have to get creative, and that layer of trust that you may have had in a small town, um, you know, that will actually be much stronger. But against outer groups or outer people, or people visiting the city, because usually these groups were visiting city and hitting a city, doing crime, going to the next city, hitting, doing crime, going to the next city. So for outer groups, your trust level would be minus 100, not zero. And you would have like suspicious, you would look suspiciously at everyone. So, and interestingly enough, just recently I read an article about now the Los Angeles police is trying to fight against what they call follow home robbery crime wave. So I guess it's happening. We're becoming a third world country, unfortunately. Yeah. So you have to be careful. Make sure you have upgraded your home security, but also trained every person in your family to not to open doors, be very suspicious of anyone. And yeah, we'll probably do another video about like what exact steps you can take, but most of the times it's, how do you say it, it's like social engineering or whatever, that they get you through. They don't go against the system, but they kind of, with someone who wasn't prepared, with their help, they get in. That's how you usually happens. So yeah, no, making sure you trust the right people and don't trust or have the people that don't deserve trust is very, very important. So make sure you talk with your wives, with your children about these things, because yeah, just because you have self-defense weapons, that might not help if you don't have it on your person, right? And somebody's knocking on your door saying that they are from the home association to do something, right? No, no. Did you receive a letter? Did you? Okay, you immediately, yeah, sure, I'll just call them right now and ask, and talk through the door, right? So never open the door. There's no reason to open the door. Yes, it feels weird. I know it feels, bad, because you want to show people respect, but don't take your chances. And of course, different levels of security is needed for people who live in different towns, different parts of towns. But don't get fooled. Just because you're living in a safe and secure location, neighborhood, that doesn't mean that it cannot come to you. So I hope I answered some of your questions. I'm sorry if I didn't always, I can't always just read every comment. I do my best, but sometimes YouTube deletes your comment even before I get to read them. It has deleted my comments under my own videos, and it had YouTube unsubscribed my own wife from my own channel. So that was weird, and make sure to check periodically for videos or something like that. I will try to put in videos every Thursday, so at least check on Thursday or something like that, or we'll have a schedule. Maybe I don't exactly know the schedule right now, but if we work something out, then check back, or subscribe to buymeacoffee.com/starpath academy. There are layers, of course. Like there's the Stargazer membership for a couple of dollars and then goes up, but also you can just subscribe with an email for free, so at least I can send out notifications for you or something like that. So we'll do something about that. So let me take some questions for the live chat, and hopefully answer some more questions. Okay, evening all, evening to everyone. And Silver R Word says, "You never answer my questions because I never asked one." Okay, well, maybe ask some. I don't know. I'm just actually here to listen. Yeah, do ask questions, because it helps me roll the topic into stuff that you're interested in. I can go off on tangents, but maybe I'm the only one who's interested in it. So who knows? So here's a question. Yeah, so I appreciate questions. I appreciate questions a lot. Philip says, "What weapons or tools did you have for protection in Romania?" So guns were highly legal. In Romania during communism, and makes sense, of course, for for them to make it illegal. And so there were. You some people, especially if you were a party member or higher up in communism, you could have had some guns, for some rifles for hunting, or that sort of stuff, but people actually hunted wildlife, especially wild boar, with spears. So they had to survive somehow without a gun as well. For self-defense weapons, I mean, people improvised. People improvised. You would just have these. It depends on where you lived, to be honest, because on in a small town where everyone was walking and carrying or going or working for other people, and in their other maybe their acquaintances land or arable land or something like that, people would carry gardening tools, basically small long gardening tools, and people carried gardening tools more often than they would do gardening, so to speak. And that was really good in the sense that it was it wasn't you weren't not standing out from the crowd, because you like even though the cops and the gendarmerie, the other police that were later formed in Romania, there would be very few people or personnel that they would have, and underpaid, to be honest. They would not look nicely if you would be carrying a sword, which which some people did actually, and they would catch you and you would get trouble with them, because intent, I guess, was assumed that you're going to do something good, something bad, I should say. So, but there were people who actually had swords, long knives, and that sort of stuff, as long as they could hide them on their body. I guess I don't think it was ever worth it, because cops, especially, I'm saying cops, but cops is a nice word. These were like SWAT members. They would just roll up to you with a van, maybe 6 to 12 SWAT members would come out and strip search you for weapons, or what are you doing at night, or that sort of stuff. So it was not really worth it to carry anything that would not have, that you couldn't make a good excuse for. Was this successful or not? I don't know. There were still a lot of bad people going around, but it was what it was. Now, I think being able to hide weapons and improvised weapons was very important for your own safety against these gendarmes, or against, you could be actually targeted by a larger group to grab your weapon or get your weapon. So sometimes actually not having anything on yourself, but actually really being really good with martial arts, and being able to use improvised weapons. And actually during martial arts training that we did, they did train us to use improvised weapons, or weapons that would not look like weapons. Maybe you were coming home from the store and carrying some bottles or something like that, which was in a sack. Maybe you had that sack with a bottle with you all the time, even if you were not going or coming from the store, right? So that sort of stuff. I don't want to give it too long of an answer, but we were sitting ducks, to be honest. So don't ever let it get to that, I should say. I would actually, so another question, Shinjin, thank you for coming back. Some are household names now. So I would actually humble myself in the face of getting mugged. I don't like that part where I lose teeth or get stabbed. Yes, that was actually sometimes a really good strategy in Romania, because you knew that they were not out to kill you. You knew that these were people that were, I mean, they were bad people, but they were from around your community sometimes, and they would get much severe punishment if they would have made heavy bodily harm to you, instead of mugging, which almost didn't even have repercussion. If you don't believe me, then live in San Francisco for a while, or and you'll see what I'm talking about. So in those cases, actually, you were incentivized to be mugged, or not to do anything while you're being mugged. Yes, and unfortunately, that trained a lot of people to be victims, and they will take that victim mentality to the grave, most likely. I don't know. Not me personally, but there have been people. So what we did was actually just go in groups of people. We would rarely walk, especially during nighttime, by ourselves. And not even talking about women and children, they would be inside before it gets dark. But it wasn't that bad. Like, I mean, I mean, maybe with time these memories become nicer. I don't know, but in the sense that I was in neighborhoods in California, in Los Angeles, where I was much more afraid than I was in the height of hyperinflation in Romania, because what you want to be careful with is crazy people, the people who you cannot calculate what they're going to do. Those are much more dangerous than someone who like wants to mug you and then leave. You know that they have they're if they're really thinking about what they're doing, they want to do it quickly and go away. You know, or groups of people usually. But I mean, there's now probably in Romania as well, there's also this layer of hate that people have against each other, which is mind-boggling. So that element wasn't there. So that strategy was probably good strategy in some cases in Romania. I don't think that's a good strategy anymore, depending on the city that you're living. So be careful. Yeah. Yeah, let's try to do let's try to talk a little bit other than crime. So maybe some random questions. Do you think we will end up like Romania? Well, not. I think Romania had it good. I think we'll end up worse than Romania, because the culture was different in the 90s in Romania. People had this, I should say, common suffering that they can relate to. That we all went through communism. We knew that each and every one of us and each and every family suffered a lot in communism. So we had this camaraderie, or how do you pronounce it? Where it's like you don't you had somewhat sympathy against even people who you don't know or never knew, or you were bartering with, or something like that. I don't see this here in the United States, not in Western Europe, almost nowhere to be found, other than in some countries that suffered a lot together. So, or nations, or religions that suffered together. That in between them, they form an in-group preference, and they can do bartering with each other much easier. So I'm thinking about, let's say, the Polish people, or even Hungarians now, right? So the Polish people suffered a lot under communism, but now that suffering has made sort of a cohesive nation now, because they keep telling and retelling the stories of how much they suffered, and that gives us or that gives them the ability to have a common story, a common persecution story, or something like that, that they can use to their advantage now. The same with Hungarians. Hungarians tend to talk a lot about the Treaty of Trianon, or losing World War One or something like that. And a lot of Hungarians now have this mentality of, we have to protect Hungary against everyone, even to the point of of our lives, or something like that. So that is giving them this very different mentality, and that's why they are standing out a little bit. But also, I think Ukraine now has that similar thing. And I don't see anything like that in the United States, and at least as one nation. And we should probably have that. There are groups and cities, but it's also something dumb. Like sometimes West Coast guys against East Coast guys or whatever. And to be honest, it's amplified by the media quite a lot, which is very, very hard to look at, but it is what it is. Yes, segregation might come in the United States. I mean, I don't think so, but there has been there was a sociologist or economist that did say that the United States will break up into multiple states because their economy per state is so different, and it doesn't make sense to you know, someone from the metropolitan area of New York to dictate policy, federal policy for someone in rural Arkansas. And he's right. In some degrees, I don't think it will happen. I at this point I hope it doesn't happen, but there are theories out there, and I can see their point. The problem with that, of course, is that the United States, if the states don't stay together, a lot of these I wanted to say hyenas, but let's just say other nations are just like really hoping that happens so they can take advantage and put us against each other. And that is why I don't think it would be a good idea, because it would be just chaos. And I don't know. Yeah, it would be interesting to see other people's theories, but at that point it would be divide and conquer against the United States. So I don't think anyone wants that to happen, because that would mean that the American system in the world, or the Western system in the world, actually dies. America, as much as we talk about how we don't like the American empire to be the police of the world, right? Because that has horrible consequences. If that would happen, there would be a big void. And you can bet your bet your hat, if you have one, that some other nation, and you can guess who, or which two, would step in to fill that immediately. And what would that mean for the rest of the world that are still developing? Countries in Africa or countries in some Asia that are still looking to the West as good examples for democracy. Of course, I know you might have a different opinion, but compared to their systems, actually, Western European systems and the American democracy is so much better. So who knows what would happen? Well, yeah, I really hope that. So, I mean, federalism could work. I think we need more power to different states. So, more power should be taken on by states, because we are different. And, as long as we can each have our states, or with the rules that we like, and move there, but still have a good federal solution, I think that would work out the best for everyone. As long as people in different states stay in their states, and don't try to change other states. I think it could work out, and that would be probably the best. It's an opinion. So Cheshire Yeoman too. I think America has been subverted from within already. I mean, every country has been subverted at some point in their history. So thinking that it could not happen here because we have a nicer flag, or a Statue of Liberty, of course, that doesn't mean anything unless people actually, keep their oaths and to the Constitution and so on. So it could have happened, of course. But I mean, we what we need is a free press. That's what we need, and that's sort of the immune system of countries. That as long as the people are in the know of what's happening, and they are being informed, and you trust the people, then that immune system would take care of itself, and you don't have to worry too much about subversion. So if you listen to this communist, ex-communist KGB officer whose name was, now I don't remember. You probably know who I'm talking about. Yuri Bezmenov. Yes, that's the one. Everything that he says is pretty much true. So if you haven't watched those videos or his videos about Yuri Bezmenov, yes, ex-KGB defector, Google it, YouTube it, while it's still up there, and listen to his interviews. I mean, then you'll have a bigger perspective. So yes, I mean, subversion is there. Subversion is a form of war, and it's always there. So just thinking that we're in peace times, that doesn't mean that it's not happening. There's hot war and cold war and something in between, or so cold that you don't even realize it. But I mean, countries and nations are competing against each other, and as much as they can sell their own influence in other countries, they will do. It's not one-sided. It's not like just the United States is trying to be subverted, but also the United States is subverting other countries. To some degree, that was the cause of the Romanian Revolution, that Western ideas subverted Romanian communism, and it won, right? And but that doesn't mean we were worse or better off before or after. It's just systems change, and when you do this, you kind of have to do a judo move. That's if you know what judo is, right? And as your aggressor, or as new ideas are coming in to the country that are subverting it, what you have to do is you have to pull them in so hard and step away that people are deflected from it. So I don't want to talk too much about politics, but if you understand what I'm talking about, you understand it. Right. I think that's a good strategy, because if you just ban it outright, it will make it more interesting to people, and it will work for a while, and that while might be good for 10 years, 20 years, but then the actual youth who are interested in always new ideas and or have the revolutionary spirit, as every generation's youth have that, they might actually pick up on it just because it was censored. So you have to watch out what you're doing. But yeah. So the wolf keeps says, I feel my wife and me are too dependent on the current system. Any recommendation on how can I get us more independent, prepared without scaring her? Yeah, yeah. Follow Instagram or Pinterest or whatever she likes, or social media, but try to subvert her. Try to show traditional life from the perspective of other women who enjoy it. Because to be honest, traditional life, and I'm so traditional life by me saying traditional life, I mean sausage making. You make your own sausage. You make your own sour cabbage. You start gardening. You plant flowers, and you start doing more and more of these small things. But what's happening is now you're not dependent on buying sausage from the store. You just have to buy meat. Well, maybe later on you won't buy meat from the store. You maybe will buy meat from a local butcher, right? Suddenly you're now not that dependent. But start with fun things. Planting a flower, sure. Like we grow flowers, we cut them, and we put them in the vase, and then we have flowers. We don't have to buy flowers from Publix, right? So these start with small things that are enjoyable. and then eventually you'll want goats because you like goat cheese that much. And start small, start with some stuff that are really cheap to do. I mean, you not sudden change. And don't do it because the world is ending. The world is ending. It was always ending ever since it was made. It started to end, right? So don't do it because of that. Do it because of fun. It's fun, it's better for you, and it's also a lot of good activity to teach your children how to do it, and also spend time together. While we are building furniture for ourselves, that is an activity that I can do together with my wife, my children, and everybody just has their own way. I make sure that the tools are in their proper positions. They're shut off when the kids are in, or actually put away, but I pre-cut some of the stuff that we do. My wife loves to do finishing, on sanding, that sort of stuff. Kids like to measure stuff, so it's sort of good family time together, right? That's why we do it. But then again, that also means that uh, if suddenly something would break, we have the skill, the knowledge, and the lumber to fix it, right? So think of it that way. Think of it going back to a traditional lifestyle, because you're reconnecting with your family, you're reconnecting with your roots. It's more fun. In some way you're special, right? So people love to be special, and it also, you will attract other people who are doing the same. So I think that is a good way, but start small. Maybe just buy some seeds and plant them, and do flowers next year. But maybe some tomatoes. Maybe you'll do the best tomato sauce for the homemade pizzas that you do. Whatever. So start very small, and stuff that she enjoys. And you just support her. You don't want to. You don't want to. Okay, I kind of joked about subverting subverting her. You don't want to push people, because then nobody likes to be pushed. It's not fair, to be honest. This it has a bad karma. Like, if you are pushing people into the direction of they don't want to go, then you can expect that someone else be pushing you from in a direction that you don't want to go, and that's how it will happen. What you want to do is show her all these options that she can choose from, or come up with some ideas that you like to do and you think that she likes to do, and do it together, to be honest. How do you prepare for? Oh, the question just went away. Yeah, and eventually be self-sufficient as much as you can. Now, if you don't have the land, and it's very hard. You can't do that completely, not in this world anyway. But maybe if you have a good circle of friends of 10, 13 people or something like that, then maybe the 13 families you have are pretty much self-sufficient, or close to self-sufficient as much as possible. um, wow, a lot of questions came in. I'm sorry, I have to skip a few. So red shifted dollar says China can use their gold to dethrone the dollar as the global reserve currency. If they devalue it first, the US will need to follow suit. I mean, if China can use their gold to dethrone the US dollar, then maybe the US dollar deserves to be dethroned, you know? So, I mean, don't we all want a good system? And just because if China is providing it, why be against it? If the system itself is good, then it's good. Of course, I'm not saying the Chinese system now is perfect, not at all. But I'm saying if we're shifting globally into a different settlement system between nations, and you get to keep all your freedoms that you have, and maybe it sticks to them as well, and it's a gold-based system, then perfect. To be honest, I don't think they would want to do that, because gold a gold-based system would be very honest, and currently I think governments do have more power than they had for a long time. So why would they want to do that? Why would they want to go to an honest money system if they can get away with not doing that? Because you and I are somewhat familiar of what a gold-based system is, but a lot of people are not. And as long as the majority of the people is not demanding an honest system because they are too preoccupied on what's the latest Netflix show or whatever, why would they change for a gold system? The problem would come when gold systems eventually pop up for sure, and that is because trust is lost between nations, right? Between nations, if trust is completely lost and they are not with war against each other, then how do we make trade? Well, we have to make trade. Let's use gold because nobody has to trust gold. It's just gold. So I don't trust you, but I trust gold. And if as long as you're paying me with gold, then I'll do business with you, right? So that's the reason to go to gold standard, because there's no trust between nations, and gold settlements helps. But when there's a lot of nations or countries doing devaluation in lockstep, that to me says that there's a lot of trust between the French and Germans now. You know, there's a lot of trust between Germany and US. I think it is somewhat deteriorating for sure, because a lot of countries, including Germany and Hungary, did reappropriate their gold. If I don't even know if they got it back, but it does seem to me that it is happening. So trust is being lost, but the central banks, at least in the countries where our central banks, they're all sort of in lockstep with each other. So that means to me, at least for now, um, they're still planning whatever is coming together, or everybody is part of it. Not you and I, of course, because we don't know, and they don't think that they should consult us. But that's what's happening. So as long as they can get away without the gold standard, they will. When they can't, then that's what they fall back to, because it's an honest system. Now, for instance, just take the European Union, right? In the European Union, there's the euro, right? But there's the European Union is a bit different. There's the European Union, there's the Eurozone, which is smaller, but then there's Schengen, which is sort of in between. So there are different groups um, for like economy purposes, for being for free movement purposes, and then I think political purposes. But yeah, so let's just talk about Schengen is for free movement. The European Union, the Eurozone, yeah, the European Union is for economy purposes, and the Eurozone is for monetary purposes. So not everyone in the European Union uses the euro. For instance, Poland, Hungary, Romania, so many other countries, they are not using euros. Greece is using euros. So that means that, like, and I'm still talking about the gold standard. I'm just saying that there's the euro standard within the European Union for the countries that are in the eurozone. That means that Greece, cannot be in debt forever until with Germany, or if they are, they will have to pay them in euros, right? So they will have to pay in something that is common. It's almost like, don't compare it word for word, but it's almost like a mini gold standard. Well, it's not gold, it's euro standard, which is, I know it's currency and it's trash, but whatever. They have the euro standard. That means they don't have to trust each other. They only have to trust the euro. And as long as every settlement is in euros, then they can work together. Now, I'll take another example. Hungary. Hungary is using the forint. Romania is using the Romanian new lei, right? And Poland, the zloty, I believe. They're not in that system. They're not in this quote unquote honest euro system. Take that with a grain of salt. So they have the ability to devalue their own currency against the euro. One of the reasons why some of these countries are doing so good now at the periphery or at the end of the eurozone, especially in Eastern Europe, is because they can start devaluing their own currency against the euro, robbing their own countrymen. But what they get instead of that, they are able to provide cheap exports to the eurozone because their currency is way cheaper. So that means they can have like high employment rate, they can have job security, they can have a booming economy. They're actually building up their economy. Hungary has been doing fabulously these last couple of years, whatever you think of it politically. So they have been doing well. Same with Poland. Like I've been to Poland just these couple of last years. All the airports are looking way better, and so on. So that comes, of course, with a lot of hardworking people, but also with the monetary policy that they can devalue their own currency. Now, what is the negatives of that is that actually the people are getting robbed. So what do? They don't want to get robbed by the country's monetary policy. Nobody is storing forint. Nobody is storing euro, zloty, or Romanian lei. Like when in Romania, Romanian people work today, when they're storing money for a next year vacation, it's very rare that they put away Romanian lei. They know it's devaluing, right? So then who's having the bad end of the trade? Let's figure this out. So the eurozone is benefiting because they get to have this cheap import from these end zones of Hungary, Slovakia, the countries that we talked about. They are happy because they get to have a booming economy, high employment rate, right? Or almost close to zero unemployment rate. Everybody's happy because they're at work, they're producing good stuff. Western European countries are investing a lot in these countries, but they cannot store their wealth in their home currencies. So they're storing in euros. So who's losing? Who's on the losing end? Actually, the European Eurozone country citizens are, because now their jobs are taken away by these non-Eurozone European Union countries. So that's how it happens. And same thing currently happens on a global scale with the United States and China and some other countries that are happening. Eventually, of course, it will level out and it will blow up in everyone's faces, but we'll see what happens. So it's very rare that people want to use a gold standard, or at least countries, dishonest countries. What would happen is that they will be forced to use it. Eventually, most likely, they will be forced to use a gold standard or an SDR standard or something like that. So we'll see that. What would happen? What will happen? Who knows? All right. So I think we're getting at the top of the hour. I know long answers, short questions, long answers, but thank you very much for joining this live, and make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with your friends and family. Thank you very much.